Well, I'm thinking about the shelf, and I think I'm going to use a 1x4, which is 3.5 inches. And I'm thinking about the shelf bracket or mount or whatever. And I think I'm going to make something. This has some potential. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. Of course, I'll put a round over bit to this shelf. But I think if I can find some kind of profile through here on these little steps, I think that might look pretty neat. I've got several bits. I like to use these white side router bits. This is a classical pattern. I don't know, maybe if I hit the edge with that. I'm going to think about it, and I'll report back to you in a minute. Well, I don't know if I've got a solution for the shelf or not. I've been playing around a little bit. What I have here is 4 blocks that I put a Roman OG profile on, and I stepped them down each time, so each one's a little shorter. So basically, I'll have an interesting little profile on each of the blocks, and if I laminate them together, just glue them up, I think it'll look like one big massive block holding the shelf up. So I don't know. That's what I've come up with. I think I'm going to go with it and go ahead and cut out the pieces for the other side. I'll show you how to do that. I think it'll look cool. It looks a little bit hinky from the side here, but as you look directly down onto it, it actually looks pretty cool. So I don't know. We'll make them up and see what happens. Okay, I'm not actually cutting the entire Roman OG profile. Only cutting part of it, and I'm actually running 2 pieces of boards through. This is just a sacrificial piece that will lay in behind the piece we're cutting, and it'll keep it from blowing out the back when it clears the router bit. So let's go ahead and cut these. Well, I tell you, I don't know about this. I don't know if this is going to live up to the standard of coolness that I want, but I don't know. I think it's going to work okay. As you would look at it directly in front of you, you'd see, just a big beefy block and pretty interesting little profiles on it. And from the side, you see it stepping out with some neat profiles. So I'm just going to glue it up and let it set up and see what we end up with. I'm going to just put it on there pretty heavy and smear it down a little bit. Do is when I get it kind of where I want it, I'm going to put an 18 gauge nail in it, since it'll be covered by the next block. You'll never see it. Let that sit for a little bit, and I'm going to just put a couple of nails in it. It'll be covered up by the next block, so that'll work out okay. When I get them all on there, I'll throw the clamps to it and it do its thing. I'm gonna nail it too. And we'll put this top one on, get it setting up, and then I'll throw the clamps to it. Not going to nail this top one since you'll be seeing it, but I am going to put a clamp on it. Now I need to go round up another clamp or two and let this thing set up. So what we're going to do next is work out our shelf, and we're using a 1x4. I think that I'm going to just make this shelf the same distance as the little skirt board. So we'll take it over to the miter saw and cut it. And once we get it cut, I'm going to run this through the router table and put a round over on it so it'll have a little nose to it. And I think that'll look really good. Okay, we have our shelf cut to fit and got a profile on it. Looks good. I think we're doing real good on this. Now, while the glue is setting up on the, I don't know, the shelf bracket or block or whatever, this would be a really good time to do some sanding. So I'm going to get the sander out, sand all our surfaces, and just have that much done so we can be getting ready for paint. I'm going to hit this with about a 150 grit sandpaper. Talk about our bottom components here. Our blocks turned out really good. Real pleased with how they look and how they glued up. Got some sanding to do on it yet. Probably going to have to take some Bondo to it. You probably remember Bondo. I've put more of that stuff in an old Nova than anybody cares to hear about. But anyway, we'll get it looking good, do some final sanding. Right now, just kind of got everything tacked into place. It'll come back off when we get a paint. But, you know, our shelf is gonna sit right here. I'm probably just gonna glue it down. That'll be plenty strong enough. And I'm gonna have a little towel rack through here. That's just cut into place. The way we're gonna do that is we're gonna come in on the sides of the box with one of these Forstner bits and bore a hole like this into these blocks, and then we'll just, it's pretty tight too, we'll just, you know, insert it in and have one on each side. These two components here are going to come completely off once I get the towel rod in. I'll just put them together and I'll paint this as one individual unit, and that ought to turn out pretty good. So right now I'm going to have to take these back off and bore the holes and guess do some final sanding, and we're almost ready to paint. Okay, we have our positions marked on these blocks, so let's go ahead and bore a hole. We're going to bore about 3/8 of an inch, which is about the depth of this bit. now, what we will have is a slot to put our towel rack in. Work this side in. Now we have our towel rack built. Looks pretty good. Yeah, I've been thinking about ways to dress up this mirror. I'm not going to do this idea I'm about to tell you, but it would look pretty cool if you took a piece of this Coronado crown, see the profile, and put it on the top and mitered it in. I'm not going to do that on this project because I've held this up in the position, in the location that it's going, and I think it's going to look better for the kind of look that I want to leave this off. But that might be an idea for a future project because I do think that would look pretty good. Let's talk a little bit about how we're going to attach this mirror to the wall. This thing, when the mirror is in here, when it gets glued in, this is going to be a pretty heavy mirror, and you know, I want it to have a good solid attachment to the wall. I guess you could use picture hanging hardware with the cable and all that stuff, but I don't want to do that because also I want our shelf to be level and stable and solid and not subject to swinging back and forth if this were attached with a cable. The problem is, you know, where do you run a screw through this thing? Because you don't want an ugly drywall screw sticking in the face of our nice mirror. The studs are on 16-inch centers, which, you know, that's fine, but this is 25 inches wide, and to get a 16-inch center, you're going to be somewhere that it's not going to have a very good look to it. And nowhere that you can hide a screw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little magic here. I'm going to take a Forstner bit and I'm going to bore a hole like this in two positions that are 16 inches apart. So I'll come in here 16, 16, and I've measured it out and I've centered it up. Each hole was 4.5 inches from the edge. And then I've got 16 inches right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bore that hole, and then I'm going to take one of these little button, I guess that's what you call it. Bought them at Woodcraft. And so I'll bore a hole that'll be, I don't know, I guess it's about 1/2 inch. And inside of that hole, right here, I'll run a drywall screw into the wall and attach the mirror frame. And then I'll come back and I'll just cover it up with this. Of course, this will be painted, be covered up. You'll never know that this thing is screwed into the wall. And it'll be attached really solid and stable, and I think it'll look good. I'm going to do it up here. I'm going to go ahead just to kind of give it balance, do it on the bottom too. Okay, I bored that about the depth of the bit. It's about 1/2 inch. We'll be able to put a drywall screw in here that'll go in and attach to the stud, and then come in with this and hide it.